I've had the privilege now for a year and a half of hosting this nightly radio show on Saga 960. And I've had really some fascinating interviews. It's been really quite an incredible experience for me. Tonight was one of the most poignant interviews of all time. Mark Keeley, a friend and a gentleman who I've known in politics and business. He's a very professional government relations a consultant and executive, spoke about his brother passing away from COVID-19 just I guess 10 days or 2 weeks ago, and caught the infection and died within less than a month. And a gentleman that was very fit, cycled all the time, ran all the time, stayed in a bubble, followed all the guidelines, somehow caught it and got infected, went into the ICU, was put on a ventilator, and passed away without anyone being able to come see him. And then even the way he describes the funeral, or the lack of funeral, such that the body is wrapped up and warnings put on it and taken away and cremated right away. It's just an incredible story, and to hear it firsthand from someone you know. And maybe that is the problem with all these people that are deniers and are objecting to it and quoting wrong statistics, is that they haven't had that opportunity to have a first-hand experience, a close family member or a friend pass away from the virus. And so it was very poignant to me, for me, to chat with Mark and read his article that he published in Ottawa Life about how quickly the virus took over his brother's life and the impact, the negative impact, the grief on his family. And so I encourage you to listen to the podcast or the show or watch the video, and obviously I encourage you to take it to heart and abide by some of the public health advice. I think that, as I've said on numerous occasions on the show, that social distancing was the wrong language. We should have talked about it as physical distancing from day one, and stay close to people. And you can stay close to people through telephones or videos or even emails and chats. But masks, 6 feet of distance, physical distancing, talking with people outside, go for a walk with them in the park rather than invite them into your house, are all things that I think we need to do. I've got also, I think, some other really interesting people though that are worth listening to this week, and I'd like to mention it quickly. Tomorrow, I've got Alex Vesna, who's the CEO of Prepared Canada, emergency preparedness expert, and he's going to talk about two topics. One, he's going to talk about whether curfews work. And he's going to say they work if you're willing to impose them and enforce them. But if you're not going to enforce them, then don't bother doing them. And it's a really interesting argument that says that if people are going to have confidence in public health measures and governmental regulations, then you got to stick to them, which sort of makes sense. And if you don't stick to them, what you do is you call into question whether any of the rules are things you have to abide by. And frankly, some of the politicians that broke the rules, their own rules, and went on vacations in the South or wherever this past holiday season, are probably some of the best/worst examples of that. And then we're going to talk about the Great Reset, which is something that people have been talking about in regards to how we come back out of this pandemic. And it's an interesting conversation. On Wednesday, I've got probably one of the most impressive females, probably the most impressive people I've ever met, Dr. Gina Cody, who came to Canada from Iran in 1979, escaping Iran and the Ayatollah Khomeini that was taken over after the Shah of Iran. She only had a bachelor's of engineering. On her second day in Canada, she got accepted to university for a master's. She got a scholarship and she got a first job. And an incredible mentor that helped her with her master's, helped her with her PhD. She went on to found a company that was extremely successful. She sold it, obviously made some money, and a couple years ago donated $15 million to Concordia University to name a engineering school after her and establish 4 chairs. in some of the things that are most cutting edge. And she believes that the two things that she wants to dedicate her retirement to are encouraging females to be involved in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math occupations and education, but also to be focused on some of the things that she thinks are key for us to understand and be knowledgeable about in the future: artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced manufacturing, and the Internet of Things. It's a really interesting conversation. On Thursday, I've got Roxana Saplowski, who is started out as a fitness trainer, had unbelievably significant health issues and some monetary issues, overcame them all. Number one, via some of the things she did for herself. Number two, because she became a personal trainer. Number three, because she then became a life coach. And her recipe for what we all need to do to achieve success in life is pretty impressive. And that's worth listening to. On Friday, I've got Satinder Bra, I apologize, who's talking about breakups and how you get over breakups. And that January is the month that most breakups occur. And she's a registered psychotherapist, and it's an interesting conversation. Last week, I had Molly Shuckett, who is the recipient of a fairly significant $1 million award from the Prime Minister for Science. I had David Wild, who is a former vice chairman of NASDAQ, talking about the problem with stock markets. I had Gurtan Singh, who's the MPP for Brampton East, talking about his political career and what he wants to achieve in Ontario. I had Barbara Devine talking about how to achieve presence. I had Miranda McKee talking about artificial intelligence and how you can use it to understand diversity and inclusion. I had Sherrod Hertog talk about how we got to be worried about our digital footprint after we pass away. I had Camelia Ray talk about relationships and her 10 lessons from 2020 in relationships. And I had Christine Korn talk about New Year's resolutions and fitness and diet and how we can become better people from a health standpoint, a wellness standpoint in 2021. It's unbelievable the people that I get an opportunity to interview. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. It's one of the things that's kept me sane during COVID. And I encourage you to listen to me if you get a chance. You can do so every night, 6 o'clock, Saga 960, 960 AM, or you can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca, or you can get my podcast either on saga960am.ca website or on my website, briancrombie.com. And I publish all of my interviews as videocasts, and they're available on Facebook, on YouTube, or on my website, briancrombie.com. I've got some really interesting people. Please, if you get a chance, listen to them. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Good night.